The journey that I've went on to be right behind this pulpit today is crazy that I'm here. I'm going to take you down some of my story. I can't be up here for 2 hours or more, so it's going to be short and sweet, but I hope that you get something of it. I want to read Proverbs 3:1 through 8. If you open your Bibles, this is going to be our word for this morning. My son, do not forget my teaching, but keep my commandments in your heart. For thou wilt prolong your life many years and bring you peace and prosperity. Let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on a tablet of your heart. Then you will win favor in God's name, in sight of God and man. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understandings. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil. This will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones. That is God's word for us this morning. In 1979, my mother had a miscarriage where doctors told her that she would never have any kids. As you can see, I'm in front of you right now. December 12, 1980, in Houston, Texas, my mom had birth to me. The doctors also told her that she would never have any more kids after me, but she had my brother in 1982. Talk about God's grace. In 1988, my mother moved my brother and I to the great state of Oklahoma. I was saved in 1988 and baptized. My mother married my stepfather that had a gas station. And across that gas station was a church being built called Crossroads Baptist Church. I would go into the church every time the doors would open because it was just a bunny hop. It was so easy for a young boy to go to school. I remember one rainy day, our baseball game got canceled, and my father, my brother, and I was heading back home where our truck stalled out. Right behind us was a store that was down the road from our store, but I got out of the truck and I said, I'm going to go call Mom. My dad said, Michael, get in the truck now. Right when I got in the truck and slammed the door, a drunk driver hit us head on. My head went in the back, the glass of the truck. If I didn't do what my father said to do, that truck would have slid over me and I probably wouldn't be here today. But by God's grace, all three of us survived that day. In school, I had a bad stuttering problem. I went through speech therapy all the way up to freshman year in high school. I was even in special ed. People said that I wouldn't amount to anything. I grew up running million-dollar restaurants and businesses. By God's grace, he got me through all of that. My dad would still sell the store, and we would move about 2 miles from the church. I rode my bike to church every time the doors would open. My family didn't really go to church, but they didn't stop me either. My parents always told me that if they were going to punish me for something, it was going to be keeping me from church. They never did that. I want to share a true story. In 2004, a young man received a phone call to resubmit his application for Big Brother, that airs on CBS. He said, sure. After semifinals in Austin and finals in LA, they chose this country boy from a small town. He enters the house with 14 complete strangers to compete for $500,000. He made it to the end where he had to face the jury that they voted out weeks prior. He would go on taking second place, losing by one vote for $500,000. God used him as an instrument as he talked about God and read his Bible. Even the television show even aired the winner and him praying weeks prior on national television. I share this like I lived it, because I did. I was that country boy from a small town that was given an opportunity of a lifetime. God gave me the largest platform. I did charities for 15 years and podcasts for 8. I can say by doing charities and podcasts doesn't get you to heaven. I went and did All-Stars for Big Brother, and when I came back, my ex-wife was working for a therapeutic foster care system where she pointed out these 3 boys that was living in 3 separate homes. The goal was to put these 3 boys in the same home. So my ex and I, we went to school to get certified to adopt and to be foster parents. The moment that we got certified, the state stuck the kids back with their mother. Obviously, that devastated us. 2 days later, DHS called me and said, would you like to adopt a young girl and her 2 brothers? I said no. I can clearly say that I heard God's voice when he said, you are going to adopt those 3 kids. So we signed on that line before meeting the kids. They were 2, 4, and 8. Now they're 19, 21, and 24. A few years would go by. My ex and I created a liquor store from the ground up. That probably wasn't the smartest decision I did in my life. Not only it made me stumble, it made people in the community stumble. I watched people count their change just to get their fix. I would go back one more time to do Big Brother in season 11. I had all of this platform that I could put to good use. But what it really did was my drinking continued. I went to parties. Basically, sex, drugs, rock and roll, I saw it. I even was at a party in California where Kimmel was in there, Jimmy Kimmel. And I remember giving him the card because it was my dream to be an actor. And I had the opportunity where I met with a producer of CW, and he's like, you could be extras. But I will tell you this, I thank God for that unanswered prayer, because I can only imagine my life crumbling if I chose to move to California and live that life. I would be getting a divorce from my second marriage, or second wife. And it was a long battle, custody battle. And I will say this, I prayed that God would do the best interests of my kids, not what was the best interest of my ex or myself. I would end up getting custody of my kids. And that's a short version of that. I would remarry in 2016, and this is when we started having a lot more issues with my children. My middle child would run away days at a time. I didn't know where he was at. I would run to the casino. I would be drinking more. I was running from my problems. But at the end of the day, my problems was still there. We would spend many hours on the phone trying to get my kids help, and no one would help us. One day, my middle child came at me and said he was going to kill me. And I threw him on the ground. And when he was calm, I let him up and I called the police. And that day, I was arrested. Everything that I worked for, building my name, being on Big Brother, being on television, doing podcasts, I knew that one day I would run for office. So being in Durant for 20 years, I knew a lot of people. I knew I was going to run for office. I was building my name for over 20 years instead of the Lord's. That day would be a wake-up call for me. I wasn't charged or was not even on the docket, but it was a wake-up call that day. I continued to run for city council. I didn't win. I came in third out of 5 guys. And I was okay with that. DHS would not allow me to go home. I was living in our escape room business in Durant, where I couldn't see my kids. Many preachers knew of me getting arrested that day, but only one preacher came to see me. Pastor Brent Smith of Life Song. I only met the man one time, but he was called to come and share the word with me. My boys and I would continue to go to church after that moment. My wife chose not to go. We did get Douglas some help. He went to Thunderbird in Pryor, Oklahoma, which is amazing. My ex would move off, and we would eventually get a divorce. In 2020, we lost my mother 2 weeks before COVID. She was my best friend. Took care of her for 16 years. She was a disabled veteran. She was in a wheelchair. She was my life. And she always told me that she was holding me back. And I would tell her, Mama, no, you're not. My mom was going in and out of hospitals in January of 2020. And she looked at me one day and said, Michael, I'm tired. I'm ready to go home. And she wasn't talking about her home. She was talking about going and being with the Lord. So I know when I die, I will get to see my mother again. I will say that I have spent many years building my name. And I was supposed to build Jesus' name. Drinking caused a lot of problems in my life. Arguments with my wife's girlfriends, my kids. I look back now and know that the person that I should have been calling when I was having all those problems was the Lord. In 1 Peter 5:8, it says, "Be alert and a sober mind. Your enemy and the devil prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour." I've been sober for 2 months now. My liver doesn't hurt anymore. I save money. I will say, once I cracked open a beer, I lost every argument that I could possibly have. People didn't respect me. Since then, obviously, my journey of actually following the Lord. I have a relationship with my 2 boys. My sons and I have forgave each other. I'm able to be a grandfather to my son, or my grandson. I told my son just the other day, "You're such a great father." He said, "I learned from the best." But if I really look at it, was I the best? If I kept my family in church and followed the Lord 100% and not 10%, I probably would have celebrated 8 years of marriage last week. I can go as far as in May, I could have been married 25 years. I know how to be a better father, a husband, a person. But I had to choose only Jesus at number 1. And then the rest will come into place. As Thanksgiving is literally this coming week, it's okay to be thankful for your family. But please, I hope, and my prayer to you is to hope that you're thankful for God. Because without God, you wouldn't have a family. You wouldn't have a bird that you're going to eat or the stuffing. I choose only Jesus. I choose my Lord and Savior. And that is my wishes and prayers for you guys. But only you can make that choice. I hope that you choose Jesus and not your name. We're going to be playing a song, and the altars are going to be open. If the Lord is calling on you, leaning on you, you want to be a better person, you're tired of having idols in front of God. It may not be alcohol, may not be drugs. It could be food. If you are fighting something in your lives, the altars are here for you. And my prayer to y'all is build Jesus' name and not your own.